I was going to say, speaking of communication,
Yeah.
the Patriot Act.
Read my mind. Read my mind. Go ahead. Tell us about what's going on here.
So, Representative, I apologize. Representative Anna Paulina Luna, I believe, is her name.
Works for me.
She's actually a Republican
Mm-hmm.
from Florida's 13th
Great state
district.
of Florida. Yes.
Yeah, and she brought out a one-page bill. It basically just says we want to repeal the Patriot Act.
Mm-hmm.
This is not common knowledge for maybe the younger crowd.
Yeah.
But the Patriot Act may just be one of the single biggest, I guess, like pieces in the domino effect of where we are today.
Yes.
And when it came into effect back in 2001, after 9/11, it was supposed to be a temporary measure that allowed the federal government to essentially warrantlessly spy on anyone in the country. And I mean anyone. So, we talk about right now about civil rights being stripped away, but like this was maybe one of the biggest strips of civil rights, so, a way that we've ever seen. So much so that even a president or a candidate, Barack Obama, ran on in 2007, repealing the Patriot Act. I will say that he never did, obviously, which is a whole different conversation. But this thing is still into effect today. It allowed the federal government to spy on basically every aspect of your life as long as they said that they assumed that you might be involved in terrorism in some shade way. They didn't have to prove it in court. They didn't have to show any reason why they might be suspecting you as terrorism. But as long as they said that they were, they could open up your emails. They could read all of your text messages. They could listen to all of your phone calls. They could go through your search history, go through your shopping history, go through your medical history, do everything. The government still has access to that power today. So they can do all of that still. They have the ability to open up every aspect of your life, go into it with a fine-tooth comb and take out whatever they want to, all without a warrant. And so I don't care who, brought up a bill wanting to get rid of this or what state they're from or what party they're in. I'm for it. I'm for it.
Listen, first of all, I could go into a whole side thing, which I won't, about how I first started getting into political conversation, and it was because of the Patriot Act. I was in high school when I learned about this. I was in a class when we saw the planes hit the towers. I live in a state where one of those where one of those planes basically crashed. And I've done a lot of digging on my own on different theories of what really happened that day. But to me, the takeaway of this was, whatever caused this and whatever was behind this, there was a real reason. And that reason was so they could start to consolidate power, provide the government with more power, and they needed a way to do that. And that was the impetus. 9/11 was the impetus. And so what I love about what's happening with this idea of repealing the Patriot Act, which was a terrible act and should never have been placed into law under any circumstances, this should not be a polarizing conversation because we all deserve a certain level of security, freedom, and privacy. And there is this thing called the legal process. And if you think I did something wrong, then you have to prove that I did something wrong. It should not be this other way around where I'm subjected to basically being terrorized until I'm able to prove that I didn't do it. That's not how this system is supposed to work.
Yeah.
And so I'm really happy.
Guilty.
Well, yeah, it used to be that way.
Think.
You would think. And so with everything the Trump administration is trying to do to further, by eliminating due process, sending American citizens to concentration camps in foreign nations, et cetera, this to me would be such a poke in that armor. It would pop that balloon, right? So the fact, though, that it's coming from a Republican is the key. And I have a theory. I have a prediction, Desmond. Here's my prediction. This just came to me. I think that we're going to see a revolt of some Republicans in very conservative states happening.
Yeah.
Because these people are so far right. They hate the government regardless, right? Mm-hmm. And so at some point, if you piss enough of them off, and I think we're getting to that point, they're going to start revolting against this whole thing. And I'm already hearing it in some of the ether in some of these rooms that I'm in. People are mad at Trump. They're not comfortable with where this is going, and they don't want to be a part of it. So don't be surprised if some perhaps extremely progressive legislation starts to emerge out of the deep red states. Maybe this is my optimism speaking, but I kind of feel it in my bones that something is going to turn here. And this, to me, I was like, ooh, this feels like the start of this, because it doesn't really matter if this goes anywhere yet, but the fact that a Republican brought this forward to repeal the Patriot Act, that means something. In Florida, that means
It
something.
it does, and she referenced the deep states
Yep.
in her address to bringing this bill up. And also, let's be fair, there are some progressive things that are already happening in red states. I mean,
Yes, absolutely.
we have
Absolutely.
seen that Florida, for instance, did pass a $15 an hour minimum wage that I think Governor DeSantis is now trying to find a way to circumvent. And
Mm-hmm.
that passed about at the same margins that Trump got elected. So a lot of Republicans were on board with raising the minimum wage. And I think as a state like Florida, particularly, sees the effects of the Trump administration kind of take hold, where less and less people from different countries are able to do a lot of the jobs that were being done in Florida now. And so now they're being replaced with children as they are
Mm-hmm.
rolling back child labor laws in that state to have them work in some of these really dangerous conditions.
Yeah.
I think more and more people are going to wake up to seeing what's going on
Yeah.
in those states around the country. So yes, I think I'll, I wouldn't say all of it because I think there are people who are truly in the cults, but I do think that
Sure.
there are enough people who had a
Yeah.
transactional appeal with Donald Trump. He will shed that support. And I
Yes.
think that will be part of the charge that actually leads to I think we will see a bigger flip in 2026 than we saw in 2018. I really do
I
believe
agree.
there's just too much going against him right now. This idiotic trade war that where people are going to see their prices going through the roof. A lot of people said they voted for Trump to get prices down. He's now artificially putting them even higher. No, I think it's only a matter of time before this house of cards falls in on him.
Mm. The honeymoon is over. You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah.
Before we go to our final segment, I'm Natalie
Yeah.
Bencivenga. This is Desmond Price from, at least you're above me on my screen, of
Yeah.
Independent Thought. Desmond, how can people find us if they want to follow our work?
Right. So if you want to follow us on here, you can go
Mhm.
ahead and click the top of the screen. You can subscribe to both of our accounts. That'll get you to subscribe to my Substack as well as Natalie's. If you are watching the playback, there's going to be links in the episode description for where you can follow all of us again on Substack, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. So those are the best places to keep up with all of us. Well, all of us, me and you.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Wonderful.
It is all
Yeah.
of us, all of me, you,
Oh.
and my multiple personalities on this show. Okay. So as we wrap it up, this is a little
Yes.
segment, working title, We Welcome Thoughts, called Something That Really Pissed Me Off This Week. And we're going to take
Yeah.
turns. But